How about all those actual command sergeant majors who went through the 2-year training, did their duty, served the country for that additional time, earned the title? Why should he be running around saying he's retired with that rank when he didn't actually earn it? It was a conditional title that he didn't actually earn. And now it is stolen valor. I agree with you. You've convinced me.
The scandals around Kamala Harris and her VP continue to get worse. And I think it's important to bring it to light because you've seen thus far, Kamala is entirely intent on running a vibes-based campaign, right? She's not going to talk about policy. As a matter of fact, she does not even have a single policy listed on her website. She is just hoping she can dance and laugh her way to victory. And of course, the media will never hold her accountable. They will never check up on any of these scandals, which is precisely why I will continue to bring light to it today. And there is especially, I mean, we already know Kamala is a insane progressive radical, and so is Tim Walz, but the media and her campaign are going to act like they never said the things that they said. But this particular stolen valor personal scandal continues to get worse for Tim Walz. And if you still don't know the context by now, this entire story has to do with how Kamala Harris's VP lied about his military background for political campaign purposes. And recently, Megyn Kelly had the very National Guard former veteran who exposed this whole story on her show. And folks, the information you are about to hear is incredibly brutal. It is damning. There's a reason the media is calling it fake. They're saying, no, this is not true. No, it is true. And Megyn Kelly will bring you the receipts here today. So folks, if you enjoy the content, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you are new. And without further ado, let's share the truth that the media refuses to about the vibes-based Kamala Harris campaign.
Where he seems to be suggesting he was, quote, in war. In war. Take a listen to this.
Hope woke up like many of you did 5 weeks ago and said, Dad, you're the only person I know who's in elected office. You need to stop what's happening with this. I'll take my kick in the butt for the NRA. I spent 25 years in the Army and I hunt. And I gave the money back. And I'll tell you what I have been doing. I've been voting for common sense legislation that protects the Second Amendment. But we can do background checks. We can do CDC research. We can make sure we don't have reciprocal carry among states. And we can make sure that those weapons of war that I carried in war is the only place where those weapons are at.
So, weapons of war that I carried in war. All right, spoiler alert. I know this is going to be surprising to no one. Tim Walz did not fight in war. Okay.
Now, Tom, he did go to Italy in 2003. Afghanistan was underway at that time, not yet Iraq. Memory serves. I'm trying to remember the exact date, but he was in Italy. So could that arguably be, quote, in war?
Well, maybe it felt like war to him. I guess it's not technically war. That's not a combat zone. You're not getting combat pay in there, and you are not in war. That is just absolutely just another Tim Walz lie out there, and the people listening to it probably believe it.
As someone who is currently working on new merch for the channel, I'm incredibly happy I found today's sponsor, ShipStation. If you run an e-commerce business, you already know that shipping can consume valuable time and resources, but our sponsors at ShipStation make it easier. They're the multi-carrier shipping solution that integrates wherever you sell online and streamlines your workflow so your business can grow even if you're on vacation. And from my experience in using them so far, I like what I see. Their easy-to-use dashboard makes managing orders smooth, label printing, reporting, and customer service easy. ShipStation's new inventory sync feature streamlines e-commerce operations by eliminating the need for manual updates. Inventory sync updates hourly also ensure that inventory levels are always accurate and up to date. Now ShipStation's users can easily manage inventory across multiple platforms, and they support synchronizing inventory across the largest e-commerce platforms such as Amazon, eBay, Etsy, Shopify, and Walmart, with more channels coming soon. You can also save thousands on shipping costs with discounts of up to 89% off on UPS, DHL Express, and USPS rates. So folks, work less and ship more with ShipStation, the innovative tool that helps turn your shipping challenges into opportunities for growth. Go to shipstation.com/Vince to sign up for your 60-day free trial. Again, that is shipstation.com/Vince.
Because they don't know any better. I mean, he had it out there that he was in Italy and supporting troops that went to Afghanistan or some BS story. And yeah, I think I guess I'm pretty sure Iraq was, starting and going on at that time to a certain point.
It started in 2003. I just don't know when, in 2003.
And we were there, because I'm pretty sure when we were there, we got...
Yeah, and he left his unit, by the way, before fighting actually started in Iraq, which is just crazy to think about. Because nobody is shaming Tim Walz for his military service. Of course, this is what the media is going to say. You're attacking a veteran. It's like, no. Okay, regardless of whether you fight in combat or not, it's still an honorable thing to have served in the military. The point is that he has lied about his record. That is disrespectful to the actual combat veterans, etc. And it gets even worse. Check this out. Tim Walz repeatedly, apparently throughout the years, has been lying about the very position that he held within the military as well. It just gets worse.
But now, repeatedly since he left, he's referred to himself as a retired command sergeant major, and he's allowed others to introduce him and call him that. Here's just an example.
I'm a retired command sergeant major. I spent 24 years in the Army National Guard.
So when you first came to Washington, you were a retired command sergeant major in the Army National Guard. So you were drawn immediately to...
As a 24-year veteran of the National Guard and the Red Bull Division and a retired command sergeant major.
So why do you think that's not true? Why do you have an issue with him doing that?
Because it is not true. He is not a retired command sergeant major. He's a retired master sergeant. When he failed, when he dropped out of the sergeant major's academy and when he quit, the obligations were not fulfilled for his conditional promotion. So he ended up being reduced to master sergeant. So his retirement, which he's 60 now, which he is probably drawing, is E8 master sergeant. He is not a retired command sergeant major. The state of Minnesota even brought it out there. Well, he can't call himself a retired command sergeant major, but he can say he served as, which, technically he was an acting command sergeant major for a few months, and then he didn't fulfill responsibilities and the conditions, and he was reduced. So, they kind of came around and hee-hawed that, well, yeah, he can say he served as one, but he's right there on video and audio that he says he is a retired command sergeant major, and he's not. That's part of the reason that I brought this whole thing out in 2016, I believe, was when he came down to a memorial here and in Heron Lake, Minnesota, and he spoke, and he did the same thing to them. The public, he was in the 1st District of Congress, the United House of Representatives, and he basically said that he was a retired command sergeant major. There was a write-up in the paper, and it was in there 6-7 times. And he tooted his horn, how he was the highest ranking, whatever. And one of my neighbors said, well, he knew I'd went to Iraq, and he was like, I got to meet a fellow command sergeant major of yours. And I said, he is not one. I said, he didn't fulfill the obligations. And his son-in-law is in the military in South Dakota. And he was like, we don't know that. You need to get this out there. And I'm like, why do I got to do this? I just want to be back here in Southwest Minnesota and live my life. And he's like, well, somebody's got to bring it out there. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm the one chosen then. So I wrote a...
And that's just crazy to think about, is why would he go through the lengths to lie about that, mislead about it? And he even gets fact-checked by the state government of Minnesota saying, hey, you can't go around keep calling yourself this, right? Does the average voter really know the difference, right, between, I think it was master sergeant and command sergeant major? And furthermore, do they really even care? Okay, the point is you're a veteran, you were accomplished in the military, whoop-de-doo, get your political gain or points out of it already. But the fact, folks, the fact that Tim Walz is willing to go to extra lengths to lie, lie, to commit stolen valor about something that small that really won't make that big of a political difference either way, I think tells you so much about who he is, his inclination to lie, and his inclination to cheat or mislead or do whatever it takes to get to the top, okay? In that regard, he's very similar to Kamala Harris. I think there's a reason they're the best of friends, and arguably a huge prime example of why putting this ticket in the White House is so dangerous. And maybe that should be the message. Is it's not just about, oh, Tim Walz lied, he misled. It's about, no, right? If he's willing to do this, okay, disrespect the military, and for what, really? For what? He was a veteran. He's allowed to say that, right? But just a little thing, he's willing to do that. Imagine how power hungry this guy really is at its core. It's scary to think about, honestly.
I told them all, I said, he's not a retired command sergeant major. I'd appreciate it. And everybody else out there that is a actual command sergeant major would appreciate it if he would cease and desist lying to everybody. And, then he started losing in the 1st district, and he ran for governor. And then, our state, they had the great Minnesota cover up with him, basically, where they didn't want this to get out too much. So they kind of hid it. But, now that he's on the national stage, I think people they absolutely need to know the truth before he gets in any more powerful position.
How about all those actual command sergeant majors who went through the 2-year training, did their duty, served the country for that additional time, earned the title? Why should he be running around saying he's retired with that rank when he didn't actually earn it? It was a conditional title that he didn't actually earn it out. And now it is stolen valor. I agree with you. You've convinced me. I didn't totally understand it, I confess, before we chatted, Tom, but that's just wrong. I mean, the titles in military service matter. They show that you've been elevated for a reason. You've done some extra work. You've done some extra, things of honor in some cases. But the medals, the titles, they're there for a reason.
They are, and that's part of the reason the stolen valor stuff came out when it did, because you had people out there that were wearing a combat infantry badge or a silver star or a bronze star or a combat action badge, or they had service stripes that showed they were overseas for 2 years. And, and they came out with it. And I think they actually said that, well, yeah, that's kind of a weird way to have a freedom of speech thing. But, this whole command sergeant major thing is, there's thousands of people that have went through the academy and have served honorably all the way up to the United States Army command sergeant major, the top dog of all of them. And, everybody put in their time and their devotion to duty and their loyalty and their integrity and respect for others and their selfless service. And you got this guy out. I mean,
Well, yeah, it's incredibly disrespectful to all the veterans in this country and their families. And frankly, even non-veterans who just have respect for the military. Like, it's just a bad thing to do overall, which is precisely why you listen to this segment. The receipts were provided. Yes, Tim Walz is actually guilty of stolen valor. But what is the media doing? They are covering it up. In fact, Google right now, Tim Walz stolen valor. All you will see is the media sweeping up for it, doing all this, which is precisely why I'm spreading this today, and hopefully everyone finds out the truth about Kamala Harris and her VP, because I have full confidence, right? So long as the American people are reminded of who Kamala and Tim Walz are, so long as the key issues as well as the personal scandals that just tell everything you need to know about them are brought to light, then, this election will be decided fairly. But if it is the case that the media manages to just cover this all up and the Kamala Harris campaign remains based on the vibes, then, we might be in some trouble. So truly, I think in many ways, this election is an IQ test of Americans, right? Because if you're voting on the issues, they're both far left radicals, right? The majority of independents and the voters who matter, the swing states, are going to reject that. But if it is the case that, oh, look, she's dancing, guys, she's laughing, isn't she so funny? Isn't she so brat? Then I don't know. We'll have to see. That said, folks, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Be sure to leave a like on this video. Subscribe if you are new. Check out our friends over at ShipStation. Link in the description. And until next time, peace.